Hello and welcome back to the Minetrek.net game server. Yay! I almost said forum, but yeah, forums are a thing of the past. Anywho, I've done a lot of work on the Enterprise E since the last video. I was just saving a backup of the ship here, and the big part of what I've done is I've completely reworked all three levels of the impulse bay. And the Enterprise E has super efficient um, technologically advanced impulse engines. In other words, they don't need to be that big to affect a lot of thrust. However, that being said, they do require a lot of advanced technology. Now, atypically, these things right here, when the ship was designed to do saucer separation in the event of an emergency, the crew could slow the saucer down so that it could land, theoretically. Now, again, all of this is based on theory. So those there were reverse thrusters at one time, theoretically. And these things up here were landing struts. Okay? Well, the Enterprise doesn't separate. We've never seen it separate, nor have we ever seen it land. So we can only speculate. In the meantime, I've decided to make these a heat exchanger. And these things right here, hydrogen collectors. So if the ship had to, it could fly through hydrogen gas and collect hydrogen fuel. And with that hydrogen fuel, if you come up in here, you can see they have, was the reverse thrusters, but it can easily be served as a intake manifold for deuterium fuel and whatnot. Anyways, I went through this area right here and I completely reworked it. If you go back and you say download version 1 of the Enterprise E from Planet Minecraft, you can come into this section and you can see that it looks completely different than it does currently. And I just went through and I remodeled the area. I haven't added anything in this room here, but it'll most likely be monitoring equipment, fuel gauges, and things like that. Then I decided, well, might as well have a raw tank to hold the deuterium that this system is collecting. Even though it's collecting it, filtering it, it's, and pushing it in, it needs a place to store it. So as it collects it, as it filters it, it can start to compress it and store it inside of a bulk tank here. And this bulk tank right in here, as you can see, is pretty big. It holds quite a lot of volume. And from this point, it can be pumped up into this pump right here, and it can be pushed into one of and compressed, and be pushed into these high density compression tanks. Now, just one of these tanks, and yes, I did rework the tank model. The previous version just didn't, it never really sat right with me, the colors and stuff. So I'm going to replace all the tanks in the ship with this design right here. But this tank right here can hold the volume of this room times 10. So you could fill this room up 10 times and fill this tank up. And they have two of them. That's compressed deuterium. Now if they have to, they can slowly release the deuterium back into this tank for whatever reason they need to through this system right here. It basically, as it releases, it expands. Right now it's just a compressed liquid, or whatever you want to call it. Anyways, then I decided to rework this room because I didn't need as many tanks and I wanted to add a little bit more depth to this room, more function to it. So of course I have the deuterium mystifier, or whatever you want to call it. Anyways, this right here, it moves the deuterium from the tanks and puts it into the stacked thing here, and it moves it up to the actual impulse engine bay. But I needed to add something else because the engines are super high efficiency, super high thrust, very small engines. I wanted to add something to, I don't know, like you would with a turbocharger. So I came up with a system that, again, this is just my logic. Don't listen. It means absolutely nothing, and that probably would never work. But anyways, these things here are igniters and boosters. What they do is they take power and they super ignite the fuel or superheat the plasma when it comes in here. It's fed in here from the two engines itself. The fuel comes in here. These things help, I don't know, create extra thrust through, like you would be adding additional air from turbocharger, sort of a thing. These things just add additional, I don't know, heat to the reaction process. thus creating a lot more thrust in a lot less space and a lot more efficiently for a lot less fuel use. So this is why the Enterprise E has smaller engines, say, than the Luminosity B, because the Luminosity B's engine bay is massive, and but then again, it's a much bigger ship, and it has to hit, its goal for whatever its fleet purposes are, and its mission status. What do you call that? Whatever its purpose in life is. But for the Enterprise, they had limited space, and the main reason they have limited space is I just didn't want to build a big engine bay. Just didn't want to do it. So I figured I'd make the engines compact and say that they're just super high efficiency thrust impulse engines, which they are. Anyways, so I redid the interior of the impulse engine here, and of course redid all this down through here, and we've got all of this equipment through here for whatever it needs to do, it can do. And then as we transition up here into the main impulse bay, I completely reworked the walls of the impulse bay, similar in design to that used by Shadow Appler on his build on the Luminosity B. Originally, I think he used my idea and then upped it, and then I'm just borrowing his idea because I like the layout. I like this texture a lot better. And I think it works a lot better for like fireproofing, soundproofing, and things like that. So it seems logical to use it in this area right here. Anywho, and it required a slight rework of some of the areas here. I had to reshape this area and so that I could put the stairs to go down here. As you can see, the engines themselves are not that large. Again, they use up most of the space in the build, but they're not that large. I have a little gap right here that I'm going to go ahead and fix real quick. Yeah. I was going to do this earlier and I completely spaced it off, but that's okay. Get to see me do it. Do it live! We're going to do it live! Let's go ahead and that. Get rid of that. And well, I was going to use a specific block and I can't remember what it was. I'll just use this one for right now. And come on, let me through. Now, when Shadow designed his ship, he thoroughly went through and designed everything for it. I mean, everything has a purpose. Every one of these lines goes to a specific thing. You may not know what it does, but it does go to it. So, yeah. I have this weird thing here. I made this because it just looked kind of cool, and I wanted to make something that looked kind of cool. But yeah, I went through and I completely reworked this area, and did a lot of borrowing and updating and kind of modding and stuff like that. So these parts are similar in design to those you see in the Luminosity B. They're, just slightly modified from what they used in that build. But I figured, what the hell, you know what, I'll definitely, the initial design, I think, was based off the Enterprise D, the engines that were built for the Enterprise D, and those were, I believe, designed by Blue Phobes and a few other folks. And I took those engines and I reworked them for the secondary drive on the Impulse Bay, or in the secondary Impulse Bay on the Enterprise D, and it was that rework that was then later modified and used for again, the Luminosity B, which was also worked on by Blue Phobes and Shadow Appler. And I figured, well, if they've invented it, why should I reinvent it a third, fourth, fifth, sixth time? Take what they have, slightly modify it, make it look a little bit older in design to the Luminosity B, because the Luminosity B is actually a ship that follows the Sovereign class. It's its own class, but it's basically years down the road from the time the Sovereign was built, even though the Sovereign's been updated and modified and kept in service for however long it's in service for. But yeah, so why not keep everything as continuity oriented as possible. So that's what I did here. I just kind of laid it all out and did what I did. I'm sure it's not perfect, and there's a lot of things that Shadow will look at and go, oh my god, why did you do that? That makes no sense. And giggle, laugh, laugh, giggle. But yeah, I do my own thing, and it's my logic, and I'm sticking to it. Anyways, that's the impulse bay, and then I kind of reworked back through here a little bit. I regained some space in the aft section of the ship, so I went ahead and made a little maintenance hub back here, some servicing there. Now, the impulse engines do have a tie over between the two of them, and it's kind of hard to show you where that's at, but it's in here somewhere because I piped them in when I rebuilt the ship. And I piped the crossover in when I rebuilt the ship, and yeah, see if this system still works. All right, this piston extender still works. So I'm curious. I am kind of curious. Which one did I use on this one? Is it? It's this model, this version. Okay. Alrighty, I'm going to screen cap this because I need to replace all of the older systems with this system right here. And yeah, I forget. Yeah, you know, with Minecraft, it's so easy to forget how you do things because redstone, there's so many different ways to do redstone. I remember the initial design for double piston doors was just you had to wire it like a madman. And now it's so simple. It's like 5 pieces of redstone and a couple of pistons, and you've got it down. And whoever designed that is, you know, kudos to that person because it's so simple to do. But let's go ahead and actually, I don't. Maybe we can get to it from here. We have ourselves a little lift. It goes up here. We don't get to it from there. I think it's this way right here. Yep, this is the way I want to go. Anyways, when I redesigned the ship, I wanted to have a means of getting from one side to the other via the Jeffries tube system. And there was a lot of dead space up through here that was just kind of wasted, so I just kind of filled it as I found it. And I started routing this Jeffries tube through here, and I was like, wow, I can actually, if I move it up and down a couple of places and around some stuff, I can actually get a Jeffries tube that works its way all the way around the ship. Now I have these rooms here that are basically just areas between the hull and the interior hull of the ship, but you know, they're just empty spaces, and I haven't put anything in here. But what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to put batteries in here, just, you know, low power, long-term power cycle batteries. That way they're filled and, you know, you have it. But if you look right here, this area is right under this section of the ship. So yeah, I you know, it's hard to really use any space when it's only too high like this. But right below it is, you know, part of the grotto systems and everything else. So it can't really do much by going lower. I could half slab the floor with something, but you know, still it would I would still have to slab the roof and all that other things. So it's better just to have the hull where it's at, fill this room with non-essential backup batteries, you know, just in case the ship loses power, not through damage or something like that, just some weird thing happens. They have these you know, this or auxiliary power, or I can set it up to be equipment for other things. But you don't want it to be like life support, or, you know, structural integrity or anything like that, because if you did get hit right here, it'd be a hell of a weak spot on the ship. So they want to be able to take a hit right here and keep on ticking. And I could again fill this room with, you know, like just struts and make it a super, like, I don't know, part of the superstructure. But I don't know. I've been kicking around. I will eventually think of something. It'll either be part of the superstructure, or it'll just have batteries, or it'll be a mix of both. I don't know. But we work our way back through here. Again, got stairwells that go all the way around the ship and whatnot. Very cool. Come back this way here. Got another little work area in here, a little maintenance area in here. Again, I can put some machinery in here, just miscellaneous type of machinery, no big deal, and come up with a purpose for it later on in life. Again, another little, come through here, another side of the other side of the ship. We're now on the port side of the ship, and just work our way around and whatnot. And I think there's a ladder right here, and it just leads down to another Jeffries tube, which goes back along here and crosses over the corridor and does other stuff. Now you can, if you really wanted to, come from the bridge via the bridge Jeffries tube hatch, little thing on the floor, and by just going down through the Jeffries tubes and exploring the Jeffries tubes, go all over the ship. You will cross corridors, you will in some cases enter some rooms and have to, explore the rooms to get to the other side and whatnot. But for the most part, it is completely something you could do. And I have gotten into those Jeffries tubes, and I have lost myself many times on these builds. Now, the reason this is here is there's a Jeffries tube ladder right there, and I didn't want to move the shuttle to put this wall block there, so I figured, what's good enough is good enough. Leave it alone. I mean, I could move the shuttle and put that there, but Anyways, since we're on the deck, let's go ahead and find our way back into the corridor here real quick. And are we there? Yep. All right. So we're on the main impulse bay deck, one of them anyways. And if we work our way forwards, go this way here. Yeah, we can get to it from here, I believe. Keep going. I went through and I remodeled all of the labs along the arboretum section of the ship. And I'm using my map to try to locate where I'm at. There's that little, this is one of the sort of smaller grotto rooms, and if we go forward here, we'll come across another one up through here. But actually, let's go ahead and come down here. There we are. I know it's close, I was just on the wrong deck. But yeah, come back through here. All of these rooms through along here that are not related to crew recreation like this room right here is. And then it has this observation area to kind of look over here, and you can look down the window and then look into the rare gas environments. But yeah, I went through all of the labs on these decks through here and whatnot that were labs, and I converted them to the lab block. There's a few more I have to do around the ship as I find them, I will, but I really like this block combination. It just says lab. And I really like that. I think it's a really nice looking block combination. Anyways, here's one of the labs, and if we come over here, now remember, these are rare gas environments. Imagine the ship is an exploration vessel. Say it comes across a planet that has the large floating gas pustule things that are sentient. Well, you would fill this room with that type of atmosphere, and they would beam in, or they could come in through the shuttle, not shuttle, but through the hatch by just removing the escape pod would just detach, and they would come up through that, float up through that, and come into the room. And you could have a little conference room right here with them. You could sit in here and talk to them and sip your latte or Earl Grey, whatever it would be, and they would hang out there and giggle and do their gas cloud thingy, whatever, and you would make, peace accords. You would just have a good time. Well, anyways, that's the logic behind this room. It's meant to be as a conference room or a meeting room or a, way to communicate with other creatures, sort of sitting here and talk to them kind of a room, or it could work as a break room. Whatever they decide to make it do that day, they can do. Anyways, all of these areas here have been modified, and there are quite a few of them. I got to admit, I didn't think I had missed that many labs, but oh boy, did I! And I'm still walking through here, and I'm looking for things to fix. Now, I did add in these areas here. Actually, we can go ahead and go solid here and get rid of that sign and longer support rates. Anyways, these are environmental suit lockers that allow you to come through the pressure. This is a decompression chamber, and come into the pressurized area. So if this is a higher pressure area or a lower pressure area, you need the environmental suits. If it's an atmosphere other than what we can breathe, you need the environmental suits. Ergo, this is why I call it the diver airlock. Anyways, this is basically what this is. I just expanded it. I made it into a large diver airlock, and I'm very happy with that. It came out really well. Also, I added a couple of other airlocks and some more equipment here with this one right here. Just a smaller little diver airlock area. And for this bay here, you can walk through the transport area, and then you got a little observation area right here, and another little small airlock. And I did add down here. I added environmental suits for the scientists to use. I also restructured this lab down here quite a bit, actually. I mean, beforehand it really didn't make any sense to me. Like, you had a little teeny room here that was really long, so initially I just put a bathroom at the end of it. Then well, I moved it down. It became a 3 by 3 little room right here, and then I expanded this area, and it didn't have a good feel to it, so I got rid of that little room, and then like, oh yeah, this works much better. Moved some walls around and whatnot, and did some updates and whatnot, and yeah, came up with this. But you have your little crossover here, so you can observe the lounge, observe the room, and then we have the break room down here. The little lounge area, and then windows looking out. And of course, you can come up here and do the same thing up here. Yeah. So all through here, I did the update and whatnot, and fixed all of the labs. And there are several over several different decks. I got all those updated. I'm very happy with how they came out. I go to admit that I didn't expect to find so many. But yeah, I keep finding ladders. Sometimes they don't. They're Jeffrey Stoops without ladders in them. So I'm checking as I go along here. I'm checking everything. I also redesigned this room. Made a double wall right here. This is a lift room, so you can move stuff between storage areas on the ship and whatnot. And I think if we're not close, we are somewhere near main bay. I think one of these actually connects to connects somewhere at some point to the actual cargo bay. But I really couldn't tell you. It's it's just one of those things. Anyways, it also connects to medical labs, or not medical, but science labs up through here and stuff. Now these labs, they don't have bathrooms in them. I thought about it, and I was kicking it around, then I came through here and I saw that door down there. I was like, oh, they do have a bathroom, so they don't need one added in each lab room. But yeah. Another set of labs and stuff. But yeah, I'm pretty happy. A lot of this design stuff through here, when I initially did it, it was just, it needed to be done, and I went through and I did it, and I was very happy with it. I mean, initially, and it's a lot of fun to come back through, and I've said this before, to come back through your builds, and especially after it's been a while, and just do what you can to update them and replace them. I found through walking through the ship on other videos where you'll never see them because they just didn't meet the standard, or I was talking politics, and been asked not to do that, so kick the can. Anyways, but I found where these were the wrong blocks down through here on one side of the ship, but they weren't on the other side. I found rooms that were half finished. Just really odd things that I like, wow, I cannot believe I missed this. And I have to go back and fix it. So, yeah. Anyways, come through here. Some more of the labs. Yeah, it was fun. When I redesigned all these and I added the bathrooms into them and whatnot, I had to move some walls in a couple of cases and add some walls in order to properly hide things. And then we have the multi-purpose large laboratory area here. Now again, this here can be used for anything. There are little outlines on the ground for where you can set machinery and stuff like that, but eventually I'm sure those red dots will all be gone. I was going to actually put machines in here, but then I realized I don't have that many machines scientific-y looking. Most of my stuff is engineering based. So yeah, I can't really do that. Well, but I'm sure I'll come up with something eventually. I mean, I like the height of the room. I'm firmly believing that moving forward, all builds should have 4 high instead of 3 high decks. You gain so much more depth of it looks so much more, I don't know, feels better. You have more room, not as claustrophobic-y. And even when you go through the corridors and stuff like that, you can run things over the top of them and whatnot. And especially with the latest version of Minecraft 1.15, you can get into 1 high spaces. So no longer needing to do all those little weird tricks to get to make things look like a 1 space area that you're crawling through, like Jeffrey Stoops and whatnot. But yeah, it's still fun to kind of figure that stuff out. But yeah, do what you can do. Let's go up over here and walk out this door right here. Now, I've been kicking it around since this is a kind of an odd environment and stuff. Even though I have these markers right here that basically would throw up a force field in case of... I'm wondering if I should actually put these through all these doors as well. I'll have to kick that around. It's something I'm not really sure yet. Now, I am not happy with some of the crew quarters on the ship. Some of them are a little bit bigger than they need to be. I see them occasionally, but for the most part, they're all about uniform. I was over on the D earlier, and there is so much wrong with the D, even though I spent years years initially designing it, and then years building it, and then years remodeling it, I can still go through that ship and spend another couple of years just on the model we currently have, updating it even better and making it even more um, impressive than it currently is by getting rid of a lot of the stuff that beforehand I was just like, ah, screw it. Now I can go back through there and I can like, nope, no more, ah, screw it. Let's fix it and do that. But they want to build a new D with a bigger hull. They're currently working on the Voyager. Blue Phobes and a few folks helping him are working on the new Voyager. And see, there's one of those tanks I want to update. And they're still deciding which size hull they want to use. They're fixated on building set pieces like the bridge and whatnot, which is great. I mean, it's a great start. It helps motivate the builders and everything else. But after 8 years of building on these ships, I have learned so much. And as I mentioned in the last video, the first thing I learned is always build your ships double beam. And there are many reasons for that I won't go into here, but let's just say that in the long run, you'll be better off with a double beam ship than a single beam ship. It provides you with so many more options, and it saves you from a lot of headaches. Now, another thing that I should point out too is that when you're doing, like, say, a circle, we'll just say this is a circle. All right, now when you do a double beam ship, it means you have 2 blocks in the center. Well, at the point of the circle or the saucer, you also want to be double beam. Now, I found this out the hard way while working on the Fearless and remodeling the Fearless. I literally had to take the Fearless, because it was a single beam center, or cross section, and actually cross section would be forward to aft. Anyways, you know what I mean, left to right, and I had to move everything forward one and then add another block to the ship. And when I did that, the design just came together. I mean, a lot of the problems I was experiencing, like, why isn't this deck lining up right over here? This isn't doing that, Now, it works great if your decks are spaced 3 across, if you just have that, that center like that. But what happens when you have turbo lifts that are, 4 wide? Then all of a sudden you have to offset your turbo lift by 1. Because, yeah, so it just if you have a circle and it's double beam front, it should be double beam side as well. Just, keep that in mind. Try to keep as much of it when you're building your ships as consistent as possible. Save yourself a lot of headaches by planning ahead. And that's the one thing that's the other thing I have learned is, please plan ahead. Don't just jump into it because it feels good. You got to plan ahead because things change. And as we've discovered on the D and on the E and everything else, you get going on something, and eventually you just got to step back and go, oh wait, I made a mistake and I need to fix it. This affects this deck, and whatnot. So get your hull decided, get your hull detailing done, so you know where everything should go. All the windows, all the hatches, all the airlocks, everything needs to go, even the phasers. Get your phasers shaped correctly. Do what you have to do to get the escape pod hatches in the right locations. And you find sometimes when if you look at the drawing, they'll have an escape pod hatch, and then you'll note that right above it is the upper hull. So on the lower hull, you have an escape pod hatch. There's no room for an escape pod in a 1 block space. You got to relocate that escape pod hatch. Now, we had that happen in the Enterprise D because there was several escape pod hatches directly under the impulse bay. Even on the Wi-Fi plans, they didn't account for that. Even on the Sternbach plans, they didn't account for it. You see it in the drawing, but when you go into the interior of the ship, there's nothing there except engineering. So, yeah. And on the Sternbach plans, there's an extra deck. So, you got a lot of things. If you're going by plans, you just got to keep things in mind that sometimes what's on paper isn't going to work for you in a 3D environment. Just keep that in mind as well. Another thing I learned. Anyways, come through here and keep working our way this way. Escape pods. Now, that's one of the things that really, I think a lot of us kind of just have a meh. We all know escape pods can only be, their size is mandated by the area around them. And for example, if we were to go outside of the ship, actually we got to go down. The escape pod can only be that size because that's the size of the escape pod hatch. And it's limited by the height of the area for the escape pod. Now, We've all seen the movies, so we all know the escape pods are not that big. And in Minecraft, you are basically that size. That's you, right there. And when you get into an escape pod, building in Minecraft, there's not a lot that you can do. You know, I fit in here because obviously I'm taking up a half slab here and a half slab there, and then this whole space right here. Now I can't, because of the mechanics of Minecraft, I can't put a chair here and sit here and everything else. So these were kind of left barren for a reason, because we were just hoping that eventually Minecraft would give us more block options to design these interiors. That's why all of the escape pods in most of the builds are sort of kind of haphazardly designed or not designed interior for an interior at all. And that's just because of the limitations of Minecraft. There's just simply not a lot we can do with that. So leave it to your imagination. What do we got here? One of the, come on, lifeboat systems. Yep. These things power the lifeboats, keep them charged, and, you know, keep the little microbots in there cleaning things up. So if they need it, they have them. They have full power and whatnot. Got a little office in, and this is more of a storage room right here. I guess I could convert this to be a emergency locker as well. We have another little bay right there for a laboratory bay. Crew quarters, labs. But yeah, as we walk along here exploring, it's kind of nice to be able to just walk through the ship and explore it. And I don't get to do that too often, but when I do, I'm always finding something to fix. Something I need to mark that off later to modify that, fix that, come up with ideas. I've found a few turbo lifts that were blocked off with random blocks like this, or, you know, the turbo lift block, or just random like leaf blocks on one turbo lift. I don't know how they got there, but they're there. I cleared them all off and did what I could. Another crew quarters. And then we come into this area here, and it's sort of a kind of a check maintenance system. While I'm here, I'm going to replace these right here. I need to go through the subsystem area here, and where all these machinery and stuff is, and update a lot of the blocks in there. There's a few flaws in there that I've seen as I go around the ship, and when I initially designed that area, there was nothing. Just I started on it, and like an author, a good author will tell you, a book will write itself. All you're doing is typing the words or writing down the words. The story just tells itself. And designing that area was much like that. And somebody called it a religious experience, when you're building and all of a sudden everything just comes together for you, and you're building stuff that works really good and all that stuff. Now, it's kind of pointless to come in here and not be able to get through here. So this is actually an issue that needs to be overcome, and I'm going to go ahead and come through here and take a look and see if there's anything I can do to fix this. I know what I can do. Okay, I'm going to go back full, and I'm going to put down a block right here. I'm going to grab this. I'm going to come around over here, and I'm going to grab that. Actually, that. And I'm just going to move this block one over. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to cut it, and I'm going to step over by one, and then I'm going to paste. That's all I had to do. And then I'll do the same thing with this side over here, and I'll get rid of this block and put it here. Grab her, and do the same thing. See, these are the things that you find when you're exploring. Make sure I didn't break anything. It doesn't look like I did, other than the roof right here. Clear that. Yeah, I made the mistake one time of highlighting my entire ship, and then I hit my cut key. I don't know what I was thinking, but I hit that cut key, and I was like, no. Thankfully, undo worked. I didn't crash, and undo actually worked. On the other side of this wall is that area that Shadow and I developed for the new grotto. These are, I think they're related to the transporter and or communications, but that's why they're in here. And I did some changes through here, so I just wanted to come through and make sure that, yeah, there's one right there. That area right there is part of something. That's part of this interior grotto area that I designed. Okay, so let's come back through here. Come on, let me out. So solid, and I'm just going to have to live with that block being there. Okay. All right, so that was the one spot I wanted to look at. It doesn't need it on the other side because the other side's not mirrored. The other side is complete. What the heck? Oh, there's the door. All right, so got another lab right here, another bathroom, and oh, we're back in that corridor. Oh wow. Okay. That's interesting. Oh, because I was at the center of the ship, and I'm on the starboard side. I mean, port side of it. Dum dum. That means I got to replace these blocks right here. Okay. Yeah, it's easy to get turned around. It's easy to get turned around. But yeah, I'm gonna go back through that one area there I was explaining about writing, and it just, when I did this, I just started going, and I just started designing stuff and putting in the phasers, and then filling in all this equipment through here, and laying all this in and everything else, just trying to develop what this area would look like and what needed to be in here. So all of this stuff was done in one build session initially. And there's the phaser right there, and it goes all the way around. This is, I believe, the lower phaser of the ship. It is. And if we come up above here, actually we can't, go out to the edge here, and I was very happy with it, but it was a very narrow space, and so I could only do so much with it. It was meant not to be an area where you go in on a regular basis, but obviously it is, because you're going to have to maintain all this equipment. And then here comes one of those lessons about making sure your hull is done before you build stuff. M. Heller went through and put all the windows in. And initially, most of these windows were right over the top of things that you couldn't see past. So why have windows if you can't see, if I can't use them? So I came through, when I remodeled the ship, I came through and I moved a bunch of stuff around, and I made sure that for the most part, you can see up there, there's Earth, or a planet like Earth. I can't tell. And I moved them so you can access all the windows. And for the most part, some of the machines couldn't be moved. There was just not enough space between the two areas where the window would be at. So I just made sure that you could sort of kind of see past it, you know. But yeah, that was just one of those things that why it's important to do all that stuff before you get going on all your building and whatnot. Get the hull built out. Really, that is one of the single most important things you can do when designing these ships, is get that hull done first. Then start playing with your set pieces and all your other fun stuff that you want to hang out with and play with. It'll make your process of building so much easier, not to have to worry about, oh, why isn't this lining up, or oh darn, there's a window here where there shouldn't be, and whatnot and stuff like that. So yeah, just keep that in mind as you build. Walk along here, moving towards the port side. I almost called it the starboard side again. And the main reason, like I said, I mean, how many things have we found to fix so far? A few things. So there's always something to be fixed, and the fun part is finding it. Another crew quarters, lab, crew quarters, and especially if you're doing a lot of editing in the area, it's very important to walk through it multiple times, because you'll find something every time you do. Just, you know, one block missing or one block out of place. Something blocking, no stairs, things like that, or no ladders, things like that. So, or, you know, if you even come over to the turbo lift here, and you can look up, you know, like this right here is actually, I think it's right here, this one right here is an issue. I should replace that block with this block, but yeah, sometimes these things get bumped out of alignment. For a minute I thought that one actually was bumped out of alignment, but yeah. So it's important after you do a bunch of wee editing to kind of go back through and double check stuff, especially if there's a lot of areas that have been affected. And if we go up this turbo lift, I think it's this one right here, and we're back into the grotto. Anyways, I do appreciate you taking time to watch. Again, this is the Minetrek.net game server. If you hit that like button for me, it is greatly appreciated. And if you've hung out to the end of the video, give me a thumbs up. I'm serious. This is a thumbs up. I mean, if you watch the whole video, might as well just reach down there and just thumbs up, you know? I don't know really what it does, but they say to do that. And I get these memos from YouTube telling me to tell people to hit that like button, give me a thumbs up, that kind of a thing. So anyways, I appreciate you watching. Have a great day and stay safe.